A pretty up and down Monday night football slate where Tampa Bay gets blown out by Baltimore, and then a really ugly game between the Los Angeles Chargers and Arizona Cardinals cap off what was otherwise a pretty exciting week in the NFL with some very interesting games. We talked last week about it being pretty by the book. There wasn't a lot of movement up or down. Not really the case this week. We saw the upsets we were expecting. Couple of teams are getting healthy at the right times. Other teams taking big hits to key pieces. We'll be talking about the NFL as a whole, going through my power rankings, how we rank each team, 32 to number 1. A weekly series here if you are new to the channel. If you are new, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. Lets me know you guys are enjoying the videos. And be sure to check out my Patreon page, which I will leave linked down below. I've given free access to anyone that signs up as a free member. You guys get access to my draft guide. You can view it, look at it, read the scouting reports on almost 500 prospects. Highly recommend checking that out. But we did have a couple of trades go down this past season, obviously, or this past week. Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams. So we'll talk about those when we get there. But let's kick things off with the number 32 team. That's going to remain the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots 1-6 on the season. I've talked about it for a little bit now. I do think they're the worst team in football right now. And this was the issue that you had when they decided to make Drake May the starter. This was your fear. The weapons in New England are bad. Jalen Polk was a guy I was really high on, and I still think he's going to be a good player. But the drops have been very untimely for him in key situations, dropping the football. On top of that, you're just getting bad play from the defense, quite frankly. Christian Gonzalez was getting torched by Brian Thomas Jr. in this game. The defensive front wasn't able to create a ton of pressure. And the offensive line did, well, I believe that Drake May was only sacked twice. It's not an offensive line that you feel great about. There's really no playmakers that you feel good about in New England. Ramondre Stevenson is one of the most hit-or-miss players in all of football. The receiving core is quite possibly the worst in all of football. It's between them and Vegas. And then you just don't have a defense that's playing good. And I also think Gerard Mayo deserves a bit of criticism here. I know it's his first season as head coach, but this has been a really ugly start for him. And it's the lack of game management from him in key situations. Doesn't really seem to have any control over the locker room. Publicly calling out players, calling them soft, which, as we've been told time and time again, it doesn't work. So, yeah, I have my concerns about this Patriots team. I knew they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I predicted it in my preseason predictions. And this was the team that I thought we were going to see this year. Bad offense, okay defense at times, but a lot of inconsistencies, and a rookie head coach that really hasn't proven that he's going to be very good in this league. So, yeah, I got the Patriots staying at number 32. I tried to hold the benefit of the doubt for the Carolina Panthers for the last few weeks. I'm like, okay, Andy Dalton's kind of gotten this offense going. They've made good plays on the offensive side of the football. Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette. This offense is somewhat respectable. And then they played the Commanders, who I don't even know if it's fair to say the Commanders have a bad defense at this point, but that Commanders team was down quite a few players in this game, and it was an absolute crapshoot from Carolina. This defense is so bad. I mean, they have absolutely nobody I trust to win as a pass rusher. You've got guys like DJ Johnson was your third-round pick from Oregon, which was a heavily criticized pick at the time. He's not done much. Jadeveon Clowney's dealing with injuries. Shaq Thompson's dealing with injuries. Derek Brown's on IR. I mean, this is an offense that's just, or a defense that's just decimated by injuries. And it was already one of the least talented groups in all of football. You look at the offense, I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say it. You probably should go back to Bryce Young. Dave Canales said they are going to stick with Andy Dalton because he gives them the best chance to win, which I think all of us agree. I think Andy Dalton does give the Panthers the best chance to win, but you're 1-6. You're not winning anything this year. This team is severely under-talented. You're probably going to end up trading Deontay Johnson and or Adam Thielen at the trade deadline. Give Bryce Young another shot. Put him back in there. Let us see if he's grown at all in these last few weeks, learned anything from Andy Dalton, I think that's got to be the direction for Carolina moving forward, because this is a directionless franchise right now who, yeah, they're going to get a high draft pick, but what do you get out of that? At least if you throw Bryce Young in, you can get an idea, okay, are we set on taking a quarterback high in this draft class, or are we going to pivot and take a defensive player, both of which are heavy needs? It'll be very interesting to see what Carolina decides to do, but I do have them at number 31. I think you could argue they're number 32. I think them and New England are in a tier of their own. These teams are both horrible. I think Canales has done a better job coaching. I give him the benefit of the doubt there over Mayo, but I had the Panthers sit at number 31. At number 30, we got the Cleveland Browns, and man, what a roller coaster this weekend was. It started off with them playing Jameis Winston as the emergency quarterback, which everyone was like, okay, that's interesting. Then Deshaun Watson on a no-contact injury ruptures his Achilles, which, I mean, that's karma if I've ever seen it. I mean, that was going to be a big talking point all week, the fans cheering for it. I mean, I get it. I mean, he's a terrible human being. He's a terrible football player. It makes sense. And there's kind of a weird out in this contract for Cleveland, which makes you wonder if this was kind of a setup by the ownership to kind of try and get out of this and intentionally throw him to the Wolves to get him hurt. That being said, Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets hurt. They bring in Jameis Winston, and they end up losing to Cincinnati, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. Nick Chubb back in the offense. That's really exciting. If you are a Cleveland fan, Nick Chubb has been one of the premier players of this franchise, and he's back, and that's a really big thing, especially after just how bad that injury looked last year. This is a Cleveland team that if I'm Andrew Berry, I'm having a fire sale. I'm getting rid of everybody. And I know that sounds crazy, but look at this team right now. I mean, it's an older roster as it is. You probably get more out of it in the long run by trading everybody. Zadarius Smith, I think, brings back a third, fourth round pick. That's good draft capital for you. I think you also could look to move Greg Newsome. You could get a second to third round pick there. That's 2 day 2 picks for a couple of guys on this team that's not going anywhere. I know a lot of people have talked about Denzel Ward. I kind of think he's in the same situation as Newsome. Newsome might have more value strictly because of the contract. And the Myles Garrett one's interesting. I was thinking about this earlier. Browns fans will have to let me know down in the comment section. Is Myles Garrett is he the third best Browns player of all time? I mean, you got Jim Brown, obviously. Maybe throw Ozzie Newsome in there. I know Joe Thomas would be up there. Either way, I think Myles Garrett's on that Browns Mount Rushmore. It's going to be hard for you to move that guy, but you're getting a minimum of 2 first-round picks back for one of the premier players. And look, this is a franchise that's horrible. I mean, they have no receivers now. They traded Amari Cooper this past week, and I've sold all my Jerry Jeudy stock. The offensive line's an absolute mess. The defense, it's good, but it's not a good enough defense to win you a championship with this offense. And I do think this is a team that could legitimately look to blow it up at the deadline. Deshaun Watson's injury is kind of a blessing in disguise for this team. Maybe it's just a blessing. I don't even think it's a disguise at this point. This is a Browns team. We'll see where they decide to go. I think they're a mess right now, and I've got them sitting at the number 30 spot. Another team that's just an absolute wreck right now is another team that made a big wide receiver trade this week, and it was the Las Vegas Raiders. They traded Devontae Adams to the New York Jets, which, I mean, we all kind of saw that coming. This is a Raiders team that's really bad. I mean, Max Crosby's doing pretty much everything he can. I talked about I talked about the Max Crosby trade piece last week and why I think it makes sense for Vegas to do it. This is a run game that just feels really poor. I mean, Alexander Mattison had a really bad game this weekend. They just can't run the football. Aiden O'Connell goes down, breaks his thumb, so you're going back to Gardner Minshew, which I guess is a better option. I guess he's not a quarterback that's going to win you a lot of games. So we'll see where that one goes. I mean, where on this team do you feel positive about? You feel really good about Brock Bowers, who's playing I would argue Brock Bowers has been the best tight end in football this year. And I know that sounds crazy, between him and George Kittle, I think Brock Bowers has been absolutely incredible as a rookie this season. So you feel really good about Brock Bowers. You feel good about Crosby. What other positions on this team do you feel good about moving forward? Maybe the left tackle and Colton Miller. I don't feel bad about that. The receivers are not good. The quarterback's not good. The running game's awful. The defensive line has battled injuries, and they're not great right now. Christian Wilkins is out for an extended period of time. Malcolm Kuntz went out. The secondary has been a weakness for seemingly 5 years, and they just kind of keep pushing it off. This is a bad Raiders team, and I know a lot of people wanted to pick them as one of these sleeper teams. I never understood it, and we're kind of seeing why. Antonio Pierce is right up there with Gerard Mayo as well. His in-game management's horrible. It's 12-20. It's a one-possession game. You're inside the 15. Why are you kicking a field goal? You can score a touchdown here. It's 4th down, and I think it was 4th and 2. I don't even think it was like an unsurmountable 4th down. Just his lack of awareness in late game situations is very telling. They should never have beat the Ravens. I think this is a really bad Raiders team, and I got them sitting at number 29. At number 28, we have the Tennessee Titans, and this is not really an indicator on that I like the Titans. I've talked about this on numerous occasions. I think the Titans are a really bad football team. It's more, I just feel worse about the Browns, the Raiders, and the Panthers than I did last week. And the Titans kind of get bumped up because of it. The Titans are still one of the worst teams in the league, sitting at 1-5 right now. And what do you feel good about this team right now? Jarvis Brownlee's played really good, had another pretty solid game this weekend. But the defense as a whole has just felt really undisciplined. And I would say that about the entire roster. I know a lot of Titans fans are really upset with Brian Callahan, who everyone had painted out to be this next great head coach at the NFL level, this offensive guru. Look at what he did with Peyton Manning. Look at what he did with Joe Burrow. And it's been terrible. I mean, some of the game management stuff has been bad. The offense lacks creativity. They're not finding ways to kind of play to the quarterback's strengths. Also, one of the weirdest injury reports you're ever going to see, the shoulder strain on Will Levis that he suffered against Miami 2 weeks ago. They said he was week to week with it, but he played last week against the Colts. There's got to be some internal stuff. I do think going with Mason Rudolph is the better option. While your floor is maybe a little bit higher, I think your ceiling's a lot more limited. I just don't feel good about this team. As another team, wouldn't be shocked if we see a number of trades go down at the deadline for them. DeAndre Hopkins is a player that I think has to be on the move. Calvin Ridley has been an utter disaster for them. I mean, you look up and down this roster, you're not getting really any good play from the offense. And the defense as a whole, outside of the two rookies, Sweat and Brownlee, I don't know which players you feel good about on this defense. And that includes Jeff Simmons. So the Titans are up 2. Don't let that fool you, though. It is more an indicator of, I just think the Panthers, Browns, and Raiders are really bad football teams. At number 27, we do have the Miami Dolphins jumping up 4. Once again, I still think this is a bad Dolphins team, but there are 2 things going. Number 1, the Raiders, Browns, and Panthers really suck, as we talked about the Titans. Number 2, Tua's coming back, and this is really interesting because you're only 2 games below 500. By some miracle, this team is only 2 games below 500. If you watch this Dolphins team, how much they were missing Tua was so telling. I don't know what version of Tua you're going to be getting, so I'm kind of holding back on this one a little bit. But this is an offense that is predicated on timing with the receivers, getting the ball out of Tua's hands quickly. There's no quarterback in the league that does it better than Tua Tagovailoa. There just isn't a guy that does it better than him. And you're getting that guy back in the offense. I will say, while it was a bad loss to the Colts, I thought they did a pretty decent job of spreading the ball out. We saw Jonnu Smith get involved. I like his involvements in the offense. I will challenge Mike McDaniel, though. Again, when Tua goes down, the creativity in this offense is really bad, and they just lack creativity. They lack explosiveness. I mean, you've got to find ways to get Tyreek Hill the football. You've got to find ways to get Jalen Waddle the football. The defense hasn't been great for this team either. So there's not a lot of positives to take for this Dolphins team, but you get Tua back. He's going to be activated. I don't know if he's going to play next week, but I know he's going to practice. That is great news if you're a Dolphins fan. It was good enough to move you up at least a little bit. So I got the Dolphins sitting at number 27. Another just bad loss to the Colts. Brian Hoyer, bad game awareness. You obviously lost Snoop Huntley as well in this one. Nothing went right for Miami, but you're getting Tua back, and that's good enough to jump up in the power rankings for me. At number 26, I don't want to start taking a victory lap just yet, but this Saints team is terrible. And coming into the year, one of my big takes was that the Saints were going to have a bottom 3 record in football. And this is exactly why I thought the Saints would. You look at the offense, Olave was dealing with concussions. He was out in this game. Rashid Shaheed is now out for the year. Derek Carr is out. The offensive line, obviously without Ryan Ramczyk, it's just not good. You're also missing Eric McCoy as well in there. And you look at the O-line, and it's just not a very good unit. And they look at the quarterback play. Spencer Rattler was not very good in this game against the Broncos. On top of that, I think the defense, they're starting to show their age, I think is the best way to put it. This is an old defense. Demario Davis is an older player. Tyrann Mathieu is an older player. Cam Jordan's an older player. Marshawn Lattimore is getting up there. This is an old defense that when you watched them against this Broncos team, it felt like it. They weren't very fast to the ball. They really struggled to stop the run in this one. Javonte Williams really had one of his best games in a couple of years, in all honesty. They have Alvin Kamara on the offense that they just couldn't really seem to figure out how to get the ball to. And this is an offense that we all kind of praised after the first 2 weeks. We're like, okay, this Saints team, they're 2-0. Their offense is putting up historically good numbers, but they beat the Panthers and the Cowboys. Since then, they're 0-5. Their quarterback's injured now. Their top 2 receivers are in and out of concussion protocol, and Rashid Shaheed's out for the year. I mean, what's there to feel good about if you're a Saints fan? Dennis Allen, if I had to bet, very good chance he's the next head coach moved. I thought he was going to be the first head coach moved coming into the year. I thought Dennis Allen was the worst head coach in the league coming into the year. While he's a good defensive guy, I don't think he's really got a lot of control over that locker room, and it's seemingly showing. You obviously get the clip of Spencer Rattler just saying, "What the F are we doing?" This is a mess in New Orleans right now, and I think it could get a lot worse before it gets better. I got the Saints dropping 7 spots to my number 26. Up 2 spots, we do have the Jacksonville Jaguars. A nice win. They beat the New England Patriots in London. One of the best performances from this team that you could have asked for. Trevor Lawrence had a really, really good game. Was dealing it, made incredible throws to all 3 levels, was accurate with the football, didn't put the ball in harm's way. That's what you've been wanting from Trevor Lawrence. I know a lot of people, if you guys follow me on Twitter, they were mad that I said Trevor Lawrence up to this point in the season hadn't shown that he's the long-term answer for Jacksonville, which he hasn't. I mean, Jacksonville's 2-5. He has really struggled this season. But I'm not giving up on Trevor Lawrence, and I've said that a number of times. I've been a Trevor Lawrence fan for quite a while. Despite me being a Colts fan, I like Trevor Lawrence, and I want to see this Jacksonville team succeed with him. And he had one of his best games he's had in quite a while, made good decisions with the football. I really like Tank Bigsby. He runs with power. He's got speed to the second level. Looks like he might be the RB1 for this team moving forward, which would be bad news for Travis Etienne fantasy owners, but I think he might be on his way out the door anyways. Trayvon Walker's another guy I just got to rave about. He's really impressed me this season. Seems to be turning a corner in his development. I thought it was a good game. Now, you did beat the Patriots. You're still 2-5. You got a game against the Packers next week back on American soil, so we'll see what that's all about. But it is a promising win from this Jags team. Yes, you beat up on the worst team in the league, but a win's a win. Brian Thomas Jr. was incredible. And the offensive line did a pretty good job of keeping Trevor protected up front. So some positives to take away if you're a Jags fan. Nothing that I'm really buying into yet, but I do have them jumping up 2 spots. At number 24, we have the New York Giants. I know some people are going to be confused why they're this high. This Giants team's frisky. That's the best way to put it. This was not the game that's going to lead you to believe that they're a frisky unit. Daniel Jones hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in MetLife in like 218 days or so. Or no, it's been a long time. We'll put it that way. I don't know what it is. This Giants team sucked offensively, though. I mean, they were really bad. Defensively, though, while yes, Saquon had a great game and A.J. Brown had the one big touchdown, this pass rush is really special. Dexter Lawrence is my pick to win Defensive Player of the Year right now, and I don't really see how you can go with anyone else. He's a nose tackle who has got 9 sacks on the season, which leads the NFL, by the way. He is a nose tackle. This is unprecedented for a nose tackle to be able to rush the passer with the proficiency that Dexter Lawrence does. But he's playing out of his mind. You're getting good play from Andrew Phillips. That's looking like a bad draft take of mine. Was a lot lower on Andrew Phillips than the consensus was. And you're getting good play from the edge rushers. I mean, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. That's really what this is about. The defense is really good. The offense has some way to go. I've been hesitant. I've been saying Daniel Jones has played better than the stats. If you watch some of the Giants games, he has shown good moments, but not against this Eagles team. And I do have the Giants dropping 1 spot down to number 24. At number 23, I do have the Los Angeles Chargers. I have them dropping 6 spots, one of the biggest droppers of the weekend. I mean, I've been pushing back on this Chargers narrative. A lot of people putting them at number 14, 15, 16. I'm like, well, what have they shown us to be a top half team of the league right now? They haven't looked particularly good against anybody. You beat Vegas, you beat Carolina the first 2 weeks. Since then, they're 1-3. They lost to Kansas City. They lost to Arizona tonight. And they also beat up on, I said they beat Vegas. I'm blanking on who their third win was against. The point is, the Chargers haven't beat anybody good. The defense has done a pretty nice job, I think, of keeping them in some of these games. You're getting good play from this hardball defense, which you were expecting when they hired him. This hard, gritty, tough-nosed defense is going to be in your face. They're going to pressure. They're going to bring the blitz. And we've been seeing that. This offense is so one-dimensional. I mean, what do you feel confident about? Justin Herbert, he's not looked great this year. I wouldn't say he's looked bad, but the offense just isn't really asking him to do much. Obviously, he's been dealing with some injury stuff, but that's something you don't feel great about. On top of this, I mean, I don't really love the receiving weapons. I like Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston as like number 2, number 3 guys, but those are your number 1 and number 2s. So you don't love that for this team. And the offense just hasn't been able to put a lot of points on the board. They're going to get outscored in a lot of these games because their offense just doesn't have the firepower to like stick with these opponents. And that's going to be a big issue for this team moving forward. It was my hesitancy with them coming into the year. And while their defense has played better than you would have expected them to play, I think the offense has just been really bad. And I've got them sitting at my number 23 spot this week. At number 22, we do have the team that just beat those Chargers in the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to lose next week. We're going to drop them back down to 24. They fluctuate from 24 to 22 every week. Not a good game for the Cardinals at all. I don't know where you feel confident. Maybe you feel confident in your defense, only allowing, 15 points? And this one, you held them to 5 field goals. Starling Thomas with one of the plays of the year, forcing the fumble, ends up making up a ton of ground, ends up running the defender down, running the receiver down, forcing a fumble. Incredible play from him. The defense did its job. They played well enough. The Cardinals get the win. This offense, which we praised the first 3 weeks of the season as being one of the more exciting offenses. I thought Drew Petzing was going to be the first guy to get a real head coaching job. This offense has looked horrible the last few weeks. They themselves only have 17 points. One of them's on a 44-yard rushing touchdown from Kyler Murray, which is a great play by him. Looked like a defensive miscommunication, though. I don't know why there was no safety back there. The point is, this Cardinals offense has looked really inconsistent. The offensive line's dealing with their injuries. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's Kyler Murray that I'm not concerned about Kyler Murray. I still think Kyler Murray is one of the more underappreciated players in this league. But if you're watching Cardinals games, which I find myself watching way more of the Cardinals than I should, it's the timing with these receivers that just seems off. You looked at it in this game, and that game-winning drive, he had Michael Wilson open across the middle, overthrows him by about a yard. He gets Marvin Harrison Jr. on a brutal roughing the passing call, by the way, or not roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness call. Marvin Harrison drops it. This is an offense that you have weapons. Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't really know why Marv is not getting looks. He's getting open. He's making plays when he's being targeted. But they showed it in the broadcast. Once he's just not getting targeted, you're noticing some of the mental stuff. And he's got the drop late in this game, which wasn't ideal. I like this Cardinals team in a vacuum. I think they've got a fun offense. They've got a talented team. The Giants, like if we were doing this in tiers, I think we would have the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Giants, and maybe we throw the Jaguars in this frisky tier. Teams that are going to play hard week in and week out. I don't necessarily think they're good football teams, but they're going to put up a fight. I kind of think that's what Arizona is. I don't know what to make of this team. That being said, they're only a game out of the division. So anything can happen in this league. But right now, I need to see more consistency from Kyler Murray in this offense. And I've got them at number 22. At number 21, I got the New York Jets. I mean, they do trade for Devontae Adams. Haven't really talked about that yet on the channel. I think it's perfect for this team. I think it's exactly what they needed. And early on in this game, it looked like it was working. He only had 3 receptions in this game, but his weight on the offense was felt because you were getting better looks to Breece Hall. You were getting better looks to Garrett Wilson. Tyler Conklin got involved. Mike Williams had some plays. You're like, okay, this offense I can work with. This is an offense I feel really good about. And Aaron Rodgers, look, people are going to discredit Aaron Rodgers because he's the most hated on player in the league for whatever reason. Aaron Rodgers has played good this year. I don't think any of this blame should be on Aaron Rodgers. You keep seeing the graphic of through 7 games last year how Zach Wilson had this team at 4-3. And it's like, okay, but look at the rest of this team. That defense took a massive hit. You lose Bryce Huff this offseason. You lose John Franklin Myers. And then Jermaine Johnson goes out in week 2 of the season. Those were your top 3 edge rushers last year. Now you're leaning on Will McDonald, who's been good. And you finally bring back Hassan Reddick. He will play next week. So, okay, you're getting some pieces back, but I still am holding out a little bit of faith that this Jets team can turn it around. I am, because this roster is very talented on both sides of the football. The defense has to get their act together, though. I'm not sure what's going on. Sauce Gardner's taking a step back. Quinnen Williams just doesn't feel like a factor up front this year. The linebackers are playing well, but like I said, I got the Jets moving down 1 from where they were last week. Now, after the trade, they probably would have jumped up, so it kind of balances itself out anyways. But I do have them at number 21. They got the Patriots next week. We saw them dominate them earlier this season. You got matchups against the Dolphins. You got the Cardinals. You got the Colts. You got winnable games on the schedule. They've got to start winning football games, though. Until they can do that, I got them at number 21. Similarly to the Miami Dolphins, who we talked about earlier, the Los Angeles Rams did get a win this weekend, beating the Raiders, jumping to 2-4, a game that I don't feel great about for them. It was an ugly game. Stafford had some bad plays, but they were able to pull off the win. What you do feel good about, though, Cooper Kupp is back. And on Thursday night, you get the Vikings, who have been red hot. But if you can get things going and this offense can start clicking, this Rams team is a team that I don't think many people are going to want to face. Stafford had some mistakes against the Raiders. I'm not going to deny that. But Stafford's played good football this year. And look at who he's throwing the football to. Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington. Yikes. I mean, you're getting Cooper Kupp back in this offense. Cooper Kupp has been his go-to target. And now you just have options offensively. Teams are going to have to respect the pass again. You're going to open up run lanes from Kyron Williams again. And the defense has done a pretty solid job. This is a defense that nobody thought was going to be good this year. And they haven't been amazing, but I think Jared Verse has been exactly what you were hoping for. Rushing with power, rushing with speed. You've gotten good stuff from Braden Fisk up front as well. I've got them jumping up 5 spots because they're getting healthy. That's the difference maker. This health has been the big issue. Yeah, they've had some ugly losses in there, but you beat the Niners, so now you have the tiebreaker over them, which could turn out to be very valuable. And now you beat the Raiders. So you got 2 wins. Let's see what this team looks like next week, back at full health, or at semi-full health, I should say. But that's good news if you are a Rams fan. And I got them sitting at number 20 right now. At number 19, it wasn't pretty, but the Colts are back above 500. I've got them sitting at number 19. I still don't know what to think of this team. I really don't. I think the defense sucks. I think they're terrible, and quite honest with you. The secondary has been the best part of this defense, which is the last thing you would have expected. Kenny Moore was locked down. You got Sam Womack came out of nowhere, and he's been playing excellent football. And I really like what we've gotten from Jalen Jones this year. 3 really solid corners that have really turned into a nice trio for the Colts. You've also gotten good play from Blackman and Cross. So the safety and cornerback room you feel good about. The linebacker room was short a man with EJ Speed. And I thought the linebackers looked better than when you had Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed on the field. Look, I love Zaire Franklin, one of my favorite Colts of the last few years. Got him to sign my mini helmet last week. The inconsistencies and missed tackles and missed coverage assignments have been so frustrating this year. Jalen Carlisle early in this game makes some really, really impressive playing coverage. Then he gets hurt. I think he might be the future at that linebacker position. Was really impressed with him. And Grant Stewart, who had 18 tackles in this one. But the pass rush feels so one-dimensional. I do not understand. Gus Bradley, why is Laiatu Latu not getting more reps as a rusher? Someone make it make sense to me, because he's winning at a high rate, a 23.3 pressure rate, I believe is the number, which I think is the highest amongst rookies right now. Why is he not getting – he's the number 3 edge rusher. He's not starting for this team. Doesn't make any sense. On top of that, I mean, obviously you're feeling the loss of DeForest Buckner. The pass rush can't get it going. The defense, they came up clutch, but I don't feel good about it moving forward. The offense, the Anthony Richardson coming back, you started to feel that this offense could be great again. If anybody watched this Colts game, you would know Anthony Richardson was doing a lot better things that aren't going to show up on the box score. The way that he was able to manipulate blitzes with his eyes and kind of selling some of his passes, not sailing passes, but, making defenders bite, keeping defenders honest. He was reading the defense really, really well, and that's what excites you about Anthony Richardson, because his processing is there. He does process the field at an extremely high rate. Can he be consistent? Can he make the right reads every time? Can he hit the ball accurately? And in the second half of that game, he did so. Finished the game, I want to say 5 for 6. Put the Colts in scoring position late. That makes you feel good. He was running. He made some really good plays in this game. Side note, Tyler Goodson, please upgrade him to RB2. I can't watch another week of Trey Sermon. And once Jonathan Taylor comes back in this offense, I think the Colts could be cooking with gas. This offense is really exciting. They've got fun pieces. They've got a really good receiving trio. Let's get it going. Let's beat Houston next week, and let's get to the top of the division. You beat Houston next week, you're leading in the division, which is a huge deal. I got them at 19, though, because that defense still scares me. And obviously, Anthony Richardson still has his inconsistencies. At number 18, I do have the Denver Broncos. This is a Broncos team that I think is solid. I think they play good defense. I think they play pretty well in the margins, I should say. They play good on the defensive line. Bo Nix, I still don't know if he's good. A couple of my coworkers, they're Broncos fans. I think the entire community is split on Bo Nix because he does some high-level quarterbacking things. Like, oh, that was a really smart play from Bo Nix there. And then he has the play where he overthrows a receiver and underthrows a receiver simultaneously. And one of the worst throws you're ever going to see. I think he's a fine quarterback. I like his athleticism. I think he moves well. I think he's got a solid arm, but he feels so out of structure. Feels like he's running around, making a lot of bad decisions. He's got to calm down a little bit. I still believe in Bo, but he's got to get some stuff worked out. What I will say, though, I think the defense, I mean, it's between them and Kansas City for the best defense in football. Great game from Cody Barton. Has a touchdown, has a forced fumble recovery. Really good stuff there from him. This Broncos defense is tough, and they're going to keep you in a lot of games. You're going to win games because of this defense. And the offense, I didn't mention Javonte Williams having a really big game. I like some of the pieces on this offense. I think they've got some potential to be a playoff team, in all honesty, which coming into the year I didn't think was a possibility. So I've got the Broncos sitting at number 18. I know they won, but I couldn't be less enthused about the Bengals than I am right now. And I've finally kind of accepted that this team isn't that good. And I've dropped them 3 spots. They beat Cleveland. This offense all of a sudden went from like being one of the most electric, firing offenses that we had seen. You looked at that Washington game. You looked at that Baltimore game, that Carolina game, 3 straight games where this offense was absolutely remarkable. And then the last 2 games, barely beating the Giants and barely beating the Browns. The defense we know is bad. The defense hasn't been good. You've been lucky to go up against bad offenses to kind of mask the fact that your defense is not very good. Offensively, though, I just don't really know what's going on. Jamar Chase is playing really good football. It's not like Joe Burrow is playing bad, but there's just something missing from this team. They just didn't want to run the ball against the Browns. Don't know where that came from. Just a weird game. And I don't know what to make of this Bengals team because on one hand, those 3 games, that offense looked incredible. The last 2, there are concerns to be had with how high functioning is this offense. Is Zach Taylor the right head coach for this team? There's some question marks I have with Cincinnati that I haven't had with this team in quite a while. So I've got them sitting at 17, hoping that they could turn this around. You guys know I'm a big Joe Burrow fan, but right now I still do have questions. I mean, but shout out to them. Back-to-back wins. Another win. They're at 500. They are turning the season around in a positive direction, which you feel good about. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they're playing well, but they've got to show me that they can get the ball down the field and continue to score points. And they haven't done that the last 2 weeks. So I got the Bengals dropping 3 spots this week. At number 16, we still have the Dallas Cowboys. Don't really have them moving up or down this week. Sitting at the bye this weekend. And we've talked about it. Do I think Dallas is good? No. But do I think they are dead middle in the league? Do I think they're better than half the teams in the NFL? I do. This is an offense that has some pieces. I mean, you can't count out CeeDee Lamb. I like the stuff you've seen from Jalen Tolbert this year. The weird thing is Dak just seems to have gone back to 2 years ago, where his processing seems to have taken a hit. He seems to be putting the ball in harm's way more, obviously through 2 interceptions to Brian Branch a couple of weeks ago. He's dealt with the interception bug again, which you don't love to see from him. The defense is dealing with a ton of injuries from Micah Parsons to DeMarcus Lawrence. Obviously, you had guys like Sam Williams go down early in the year. The linebacking core we knew was going to be a question mark. Trayvon Diggs hasn't played very good this season. Deron Bland's on IR. So everything that could go wrong for Dallas has gone wrong for them up to this point. but they're sitting at 3-3. You can't deny the talent that this roster has. They get healthy, this team could still be a playoff team. I'm not counting it out. Are they going to go far in the playoffs? No. They're probably going to be a first-round exit like they are every single year. But this team is too talented to not be getting a little bit of recognition right now. Got them at number 16. If they lose to the Niners on Sunday, things could look really rough for them and the outlook for this franchise. But right now, I've got them sitting at my number 16 spot. At number 15, up 3 spots, we do have the Seattle Seahawks. Definitely their best game in quite a few weeks on both sides of the football. Defense is making some big plays. Devon Witherspoon had a really solid game. Offense showed you the dynamite that this offense can be. Geno Smith was not really under pressure, made good decisions. They were able to run the football. Kenneth Walker had a good game. Happy belated birthday to him. And you feel pretty good about this Seahawks team. This Seahawks team is one of the hardest teams to really figure out what they are to me. I don't really feel like they've beaten anybody that good still, but I also think that they're too talented to have lower than this. They've been dealing with injuries, and DK Metcalf is out for, I want to say he's week to week, so we'll see if he's able to go next weekend. Yeah, I mean, Seattle's a fine football team. I have my concerns with the health, with the youth up front for this defense. The offensive line still a concern, but you've been getting good play from the defense the last couple of weeks, and I feel good about that. So I've got them sitting at 15, jumping up 3 spots from where I had them last week, hoping they can continue to build on this momentum and win more games going forward. Up 1 spot, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just going to rant about Saquon Barkley for 3 minutes because that's really the only thing I want to talk about with this Eagles team. I'm kidding. We'll talk about it. But Saquon Barkley has been absolutely incredible for the Eagles this year. Look, do I understand the Giants' thought process letting him walk? Yes. I still would have brought him back, though. Saquon goes all over the Giants. I'm going to say he was 13 yards away from tying or breaking his career high in his revenge game back at MetLife. Just ran all over this team. Had an incredible game with power. It meant something to him. He was putting his shoulder down, running into guys, and trying to make big plays happen. And he did. He had like 183 yards in this game. A.J. Brown being back for this Eagles offense, though, is the most important thing that this team has going for it, because I still think Jalen Hurts has not been very good this year. That being said, when A.J. Brown's on the field, this offense is different. They have a different energy. They're able to move the ball better, and that's what you feel good about moving forward. The defense also came to play. They were everywhere. Andrew Thomas goes down. This Giants offensive line falls off a cliff. We knew it was going to happen. And you look at this team. I mean, you got Jalen Hunt had his sack. Bryce Huff finally got going. Josh Sweat got going. Nolan Smith got going. I mean, everybody or was it Nakobe Dean? Either way, one of those Georgia guys got going. This Eagles team had its best game of the year. I'm not denying it. That being said, you beat the Giants, who, yes, while I did say they were frisky, I need to see it against a more high-profile opponent than that before I really buy in, because you didn't even feel that great about the way they won this game. You haven't felt great about a win that the Eagles have had in like 2 years at this point. So I got the Eagles sitting at 14. We'll see if they're able to kind of build off of this and hopefully get some momentum moving forward. At number 13, I only have them dropping down 1 spot. And then Chris Godwin goes down. And what a heartbreaker. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, why was Chris Godwin in this game? I understand that thought process, but I also understand Tampa's thought process. There's a minute left. You can go down, get a touchdown. The game's not over until it's over. You still could win that game. And then he dislocates his ankle. I mean, it was bad. His ankle's facing to the left. Newsflash, your ankle's not supposed to do that. So he's out for an extended period of time. You also had Mike Evans go down in this game for, I don't know how long that's going to be, but it didn't look great on the field. And now this Bucs team that you felt really, really good about, that I really liked, and I thought had been playing great football, all of a sudden it's going to come crumbling down. Because if those two guys are out, I do have a lot of concerns about the outlook of this team. And I like some of the receiver depth. I want to talk about that now. Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, is it elite? No, but I actually feel better about their receiver depth than I think a lot of people will give them credit for. And there's moves they can make. Go get DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's kind of perfect for this team. Probably will cost a 4th, 5th round pick, and he would be perfect for what this team's looking for. And he's on an expiring deal. I kind of love that idea if I'm Tampa Bay. That being said, Baker, the interceptions have been kind of all over the place right now. He's had some bad decisions with the football over the last few weeks. Like to see that get cleaned up. The defense has been very inconsistent, I would say. The pass rush isn't elite. And, I mean, Lamar Jackson had himself an absolute field day. The passing game for both the Saints and the Ravens have really gotten it going. So I do have some concerns about the Bucs holding out because I still do believe that this team can get back on track. But a couple of bad losses in the last couple of weeks. And I've got them sitting at number 13 right now. At number 12, we do have the Atlanta Falcons. Another just weird Falcons game. And I don't think the Falcons have played in a normal game all season long. Kyle Pitts got going. Bijan Robinson had a really good game. Kirk Cousins, kind of the odd man out here, didn't play good for this team. I think I talk about this every week with this Falcons team. I don't know how you can continue to roll out this pass rush and feel confident. This pass rush is really, really bad. I mean, they cannot create pressure consistently. They can't do it. I mean, Judon is fine. I think he's all right, but I just don't really love any other option that they have on their pass rush. Anybody. They've got to continue. They've got to find a move to make to improve this pass rush. That being said, Kirk Cousins did not have a good game. He really didn't. Turnover-worthy plays, putting the ball in harm's way, interceptions. I mean, just everything that you don't want to see Kirk Cousins do, he did in this game. There's a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of stuff to get cleaned up, but I do think that those skill positions have arrived. Kyle Pitts has been playing really well for this team over the last few weeks. Bijan was incredible in this one, and I think you're getting good play as well from Drake London this year. You feel good about that. You got to get Kirk Cousins to clean up some of the turnovers, and you got to get the pass rush back on track because the defense is your secondary is playing good, but the pass rush is just not landing, and so I need to see that from this Falcons team. I think that's got to be a priority at the deadline for them, and I've got them sitting at number 12 right now. At number 11, it said number 12. Excuse that. I do have the Chicago Bears. Jump up one spot despite being on a bye, just because I feel better about this team right now than I do about the Falcons, strictly because I think the quarterback is better. I think Caleb Williams right now is playing at an elite level, but what he has shown the last 3.5 weeks has been very encouraging if you are a Bears fan. Decision-making, confidence, throwing with timing and accuracy, but the most important part, reading through his progressions. There was a video going around where he's looking right, goes left, looks right again. That's what you're hoping for from Caleb Williams, and he's been doing that, and you like to see that from them. DeAndre Swift's playing really good football. The offense looks really sharp right now, and the O-line as well is at least playing serviceable for Caleb Williams. The defense, I feel good about. I really, really like what we're getting from Jalen Johnson. He's playing like an all-pro for the second straight season. You're getting good play from the safeties. The edge rushers up front are doing their thing. So I feel good about that. We'll see what they're able to do. Big game against Washington this weekend, which is going to be probably the most talked about game online that you're going to find. Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. Should have been flexed to Sunday Night Football. I think we'd all rather watch that than Niners Cowboys. But I do really like this Bears team. I think they're going to win on Sunday too. I've got them sitting at number 11. At number 10, and I know I need to, sell my stocks on the Niners because Can this team have anything worse happen to them? Week 1, Christian McCaffrey, he's out, has not played up to this point in the season. Deebo Samuel has pneumonia now. You obviously lose Javon Hargrave. He tears his tricep. I believe it was a tricep. He's out for the season. You've dealt with injuries to Talanoa Hufanga. Charvarius Ward has been in and out of the lineup. Now, Brandon Ayuk tears his ACL and MCL. George Kittle hasn't had his yearly injury yet. Everything that could go wrong for the Niners is going wrong, and I do think their Super Bowl window is closed. I do think the ceiling is a lot less high with this team, but the way Jawan Jennings was playing, maybe you feel a little bit better about it. I mean, he's playing good football. You got Ricky Pearsall back. Definitely probably the worst game of Brock Purdy's career, though. Decision-making was bad, just bad turnovers, seemed out of control, seemed rushed. This Kansas City defense did a really good job of, making him second-guess himself and put the ball in harm's way. That's all you could have asked for as a Kansas City Chiefs fan. You did that. But, man, the injuries with this team are brutal. And if they lose to Dallas on Sunday night, I probably move them out of the top half of the league because I think the injuries are starting to pile up. And look, you already have 4 losses on the season. You already don't have the tiebreaker against Arizona or LA. This could come down to the wire. And if you don't win the division, I don't think you make the playoffs right now, especially with the schedule you have coming up. You still got to play Detroit. You got Dallas, which, look, as much as we clown Dallas, it's not an easy game. I mean, even though San Francisco has owned them, still not an easy opponent to face. They've got tough matchups coming up still. They've got to get this ship steered in the right direction because if they lose next week, I mean, there's a lot of really tough games on their schedule. And I got them at number 10. I'm holding out a little bit of hope, but my hope is slowly starting to dwindle in the 49ers. Talking about teams that hope is dwindling for, my hope is building for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was really happy when we found out the news that this team was going to Russ. Look, you can call me the biggest Justin Fields hater, you would probably be accurate. I don't think Justin Fields is good, and I've been saying it time and time and time again. The ceiling is limited with Justin Fields. It just is. His inability to process the field, scan through his progressions, go through his second reads, it holds this team back. It really does. Russell Wilson goes in against a Jets defense that has been a very respected unit around the league, and Russ cooked. Let Russ cook. I mean, everyone's going to talk about the passing chart. He's thrown to the flats. Sure, but the passes when he threw it downfield, they were accurate. They were good decisions. He threw with timing and touch. He looked like Russell Wilson. And I talked about this all offseason, how perfect Russ was for this system. Heavy play action, the deep shots, that he's got one of the best deep shot receivers in the league in George Pickens, who, look, I don't like George Pickens that much either. I think he's a bit of a diva, but he was awesome. He played an incredible game against his Jets secondary. Russell Wilson got him the ball where it needed to be. Russell Wilson is the answer going forward for this Steelers team. He gives you the best chance to win a championship this year. The AFC is wide open with the way the Steelers defense has been playing. We didn't even talk about them. They were incredible. They go down 50. They end up scoring 30 unanswered points, I want to say. TJ Watt was kind of a non-factor in this one, but the ability of Keanu Benton, Peyton Wilson played a good game. The secondary, shout out Beanie Bishop. I mean, look, I've been lower on the Steelers, but I'm a big Russell Wilson guy. I think he was awesome in this game, and I think he does give you a lot of excitement if you're a Steelers fan. So got them going up 4 spots to my number 9 team. At number 8, staying the same, we got the Washington Commanders absolutely annihilating the Carolina Panthers. The only thing we're going to talk about is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has a 47-yard run, gets hit, goes out. The mom says, his mom, not the mom, his mom says he's fine. He'll be good to go. This is what worried you about Jaden Daniels coming into the league. His ability to run is remarkable. He's got such a small frame. Is he going to be able to take these hits? He took one hit in this game and did not come back for the rest of the game. He is considered week to week, and his status is up in the air for Chicago. That's not ideal if you're a Washington Commanders fan. You were able to get the win. Marcus Mariota was incredible, and I think Cliff Kingsbury might end up getting another head coaching job next year because what he has done in such a short time with this Commanders offense, 4 30-point games this season. They had 4 30-point games the last 2 seasons combined. This team's doing some really special stuff. The defense is playing well. Emmanuel Forbes, shout out my guy, Emmanuel Forbes, had a good game in this one. I love this Commanders team. I think the Commanders-Bears game is going to be must-see TV. I've got them on number 8. We'll see if Jaden Daniels can get healthy, what his status is going to be. But who would have thought that I'd have, through 7 weeks, the Commanders ranked ahead of the Cowboys, the Eagles, and 49ers in the NFC. Wild times, but Washington deserves it right now. At number 7, we have the Buffalo Bills. This is less about the win, more about the Amari Cooper addition. Didn't talk about it last week. I love that addition for this team. You need a reliable weapon in that intermediate, short area that Josh Allen could get the ball to. And, we saw it, and he had a really good play. Scores his first catch, goes for 6. But I do want to talk about Keon Coleman, who I think is slowly emerging. Look, when everybody sold their Keon Coleman stock, I bought all the Keon Coleman stock. I'm like, yeah, give me that. I think Keon Coleman's going to be a really good receiver at the next level. I don't remember where he finished for me. He finished as my wide receiver 4 or 5, ahead of Xavier Worthy. I want to say ahead of Adonai Mitchell as well. I might have had Adonai Mitchell 4, and I might have had Keon Coleman 5, if I recall. Either way, I never gave up on Keon Coleman when it seemed like the entire draft community was out. He's been really good for this Bills team. He's made some really impressive plays, quickly building that chemistry with Josh Allen. I think this Bills team right now, look, I like that Baltimore team. I like that Detroit team. If I'm putting money on it, I still kind of think this Bills team might be my favorite in the AFC. I think they've got more ways to beat you. They can beat you through the air and through the ground. I think James Cook had another good game. I like the emergence of Ray Davis, and they should be getting healthy. You're going to get Von Miller back. Nat Milano might be good to go around playoff time, which is huge news for them. I love this Bills team. I think Josh Allen still playing at an MVP level right now. He's probably 3rd on my MVP ballot. We'll get to the other 2, but yeah, I like this Bills team. They're 5-2, 2 pretty big wins. They beat Tennessee pretty handily. Got them sitting at number 7 this week. At number 6, we got the Houston Texans. I will say I have not felt great about the Texans all season long. I've talked about this quite a few times. You barely beat the Colts. You lose to the Vikings in pretty embarrassing fashion. You lose to the Packers in what was a horrible game from C.J. Stroud. He was terrible in this game. Tank Dell hasn't been very good for this team. Obviously, now you're missing Nico Collins. They're still 5-2, but there's just something missing with this Texans team. I can't figure it out. They feel like last year's Eagles. I'm not saying they're going to have this catastrophic fall off like last year's Eagles, but the way they win the games early in the season where it feels close and you're like, they kind of escaped that one. You look at that Jags game. They kind of escaped that one. There's just very few games that I feel very confident with this team. And yeah, I've got them sitting at number 6 right now. I do think that they are a very talented football team. I'm not saying there's a bad team, but I am saying there are just checks going off. And I'm like, okay, I'm keeping that on the back burner. The CJ Stroud just kind of disappearing for moments, it does concern you a little bit. Do I think the Texans are good? Yes, I think they're clearly the best team in the division. But for them to only be a game above the division in the AFC South, a game against the Colts that could be pretty important for playoff seeding, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I got the Texans dropping 2 spots after a loss to Green Bay at number 6. At number 5, we do have the Green Bay Packers. I picked Green Bay to win the Super Bowl in the offseason. Do I still think that's going to be the case? I think it's possible. I think right now, with the way this offense is playing, I'm not ruling anything out. Jordan Love's playing good football. I want to say he's already got 13 touchdowns on the season, and he's played like 4 games. He's played really good. The interceptions are what everyone's going to talk about. I get it. But, I mean, he makes 2 incredible plays, 1 bad play. I'm not too concerned about it. The Minnesota game, yes, the interceptions hurt him. And they ended up losing that game. They ended up losing to the Eagles as well. I mean, they've won against good opponents right now. And I like the way that they're just a balanced football team. They're able to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Romeo Doubs gets involved in this offense. You've gotten good play from him. The special teams is respectable now with Brandon McManus, which you feel really good about. And the defense came to play. The defense was really good, particularly the secondary, making plays. Xavier McKinney has been awesome. The rookie Evan Williams has been really good for Green Bay. Really like what we're seeing from this Packers team. And, I mean, they continue to impress me this season. I think Matt LaFleur is doing a heck of a job coaching this team up. And I got the Packers sitting at number 5 after a huge win over Houston. At number 4, dropping 2 spots are the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings fans are going to be upset about this. I get it. I mean, this was a really, really good Lions team that kind of beat you at your own game in a weird way. They figured it out. When they blitzed Jared Goff was perfect in this game. Defense wasn't really up. They didn't play up to their standards. Justin Jefferson was incredible in this game. The offense came to play. But the up-tempo stuff that the Lions do, and they were able to kind of figure it out against this Vikings team, and it worked. I still think this Vikings team is very good, very respectable. They're going to be a really tough team to play this season because they play good defense. They show you a lot of very interesting defensive looks. They've got a good secondary. You feel good about this team. But there are concerns still with the ceiling of what this team could be. They're still good. Got them at number 4. You lost to a really good team. They dropped 2 spots. I don't think anyone should be too concerned about this. I mean, 1 through 3, interchangeable. We'll just say that right now because Baltimore very well should and could be the number 1 team in the NFL right now. Defense played well. Marshawn Lattimore is probably Pat Surtain, Jalen Johnson. I think are the top 3 corners in the league this year. Marshawn Lattimore has made huge plays at big times for this Ravens defense. Your pass rush starting to sort of get going, I guess. I still don't love the defense, but it's kind of hard to really discount the defense when your offense is playing the way that your offense is playing. I mean, Derrick Henry is playing out of his mind, and Lamar Jackson threw for 5 touchdowns in this game. What's there not to like about this Ravens team right now? The offense is on fire. The defense can get you stops when you need stops. Lamar Jackson's probably the MVP favorite. And look, I've criticized Lamar Jackson for his inaccuracy and bad passing. That hasn't been the case this year. His timing's been impeccable. You're getting good play. Rashad Bateman has a great game. You're getting good play from Zay Flowers. I mean, it's a really, really good Ravens team. They're playing incredible. I mean, they're at number 3. You could make a strong case they should be at number 1. Another team you can make a strong case should be number 1 are the Detroit Lions. I know a lot of people were worried about the Aiden Hutchinson injury. What does that mean for this team moving forward? We'll see. I mean, the pass rush was okay. Christian Darrisaw was really, really locked down, so they didn't create a ton of pressure. But the offense is so unbelievably talented and good. Jameson Williams suspended 2 games for violating the PED policy. And I don't even think it's going to matter. I think this defense is that good. This offense is that good. Jahmyr Gibbs, incredible game. David Montgomery goes down. Gibbs steps right up, makes a huge impact. Amon St. Brown's an excellent receiver. You're getting good stuff from guys like Sam Laporta, the offensive line. And then Jared Goff, he's got to be second in MVP voting. What he's doing right now, I want to say he has more touchdowns, is it, than he does incompletions over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I don't know if that stat is exact, but I think he's got 18 incompletions over the last 3 weeks. He has been unbelievable this year. And another guy I want to highlight is Brian Branch. I mean, Brian Branch, he's been awesome. In the nickel, they moved him back to safety this year, and he's just been every bit as good as you could have hoped for as a Lions fan. And what is there not to like? You can make a strong case that Detroit should be number one. And another one, I wouldn't really bat an eye at it. And then number one, it's still the Kansas City Chiefs. Is it sexy? No. Do I love it? Also no. But how can you not have this Chiefs team at one? Like, they're the only undefeated team left in football. Let's not act like they haven't beat anybody. They just beat the 49ers, who I've got at number 10. They've beat the Ravens, who we have at number 3. They have beaten the Chargers, who have been a respectable defense so far this season. This team has played good opponents. They beat the Falcons. They beat the Saints, which, okay. And they beat the Bengals. I mean, they've beaten good football teams with Patrick Mahomes playing by far the worst football of his career. 8 interceptions, which leads the NFL right now. The timing looks off. He just doesn't look like he's fully in control. And yet, once a game, you'll get these just completely out of his ass plays from Patrick Mahomes. You're like, where the heck did that come from? It's the scramble along the sideline this week where he just pulls it out, acts like he's going out of bounds, ends up fooling the defense, runs it, and then he just trucks over Malik Mustafa, who had an incredible game up to that point. The offense has been very mediocre at best, and the defense has just been unbelievable. Trent McDuffie's incredible. He's an unbelievable player. George Karlaftis is really starting to blossom into a really good piece. The defense is able to create pressure. They force quarterbacks into bad situations, and then the secondary is able to react. I just have nothing negative to say about this Chiefs team. They're well coached. You know that this offense is going to figure it out too. Everyone knows it, and that's the scary part. This team's not even playing the best football that they could be, and they're 6-0. And just, yeah, they haven't won in the prettiest ways that you could hope for. But I just don't see a case on why they're not number one. They're undefeated. Their defense is probably the best in football. And you still have the best player in the league on your sidelines who's going to make you a play when you need it most. They're the best team in the league. So, yeah, they haven't really changed all season long. But until they lose, I'm going to keep saying this. Until the Chiefs lose, they're going to be at number one for me. So that's going to do it for me in this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.